body problem on Netflix from the creators of Game of Thrones, very much so. So this is solid, with interesting ideas and new ideas and original ideas, which I think are all strong, going in an interesting way with good characters. My problem with it is that it's still not a story, but it's content, right? This seems like today, instead of having like a story or a season of stories, right? Where you have like, imagine a meal where you have like a perfectly balanced, amuse-bouche, appetizer, main course, wine with it, and dessert, all planned as one thing together to work together in unison, and everything being an individual course in of itself, right? And then, but making a much bigger whole, right? That's what storytelling used to be like. Now it's much more akin to a soft serve ice cream thing where you just go and you pour a bunch out, dunk, and you press stop, and it's the end of the episode. And you keep more, and there's another, and then like cliffhanger to season 2. So that's its biggest drawback, right? That even though it's a compelling story, reasonably well told, well cast, with great set pieces, and with good direction and good acting, it still can't escape from its root as content rather than story. And it's really weird how that comes out. However, as a piece of content, I found it solid. So again, here's the thing though. Having watched the first season, do I feel enriched by watching it in the same way I felt enriched by watching anything like Sing Detective or I don't know, Are You Being Served for that? It's like real. Claudius. What else is there? There was a ton of like really great shows. Edge of Darkness. Do I feel my Star Cops? Do I feel that my life has been added to by? No, it doesn't. It feels like it was content there to keep me quiet, right? To occupy me rather than to inspire my mind, right? So that's really my problem. Having said that, it was a good piece of content. It was a solid piece. It was 8 episodes that wasn't too long, right? And it spanned a good number of characters. So let me give you a bold overview. It starts off. So this was a Chinese book. So there has been a controversy that this was very pro CCP, pro communist China, and I think there's some elements in the writing of the book that the sociological elements of it where people can't help but have pride for their country and their way of life, right? It's how we're hardwired. So I think that is there. But I don't think this is pro CCP at all, right? So it starts off with a really stunning scene of a struggle session during the 60s of the CCP China, where a physics professor, so I think a physics professor, is forced to wear a dunce hat and then is berated for not denouncing science. Again, exactly like the rainbow community does today, right? This is what all that anger. This is exactly what the rainbow community would do if they had power, right? This is exactly what they would do. This is the morals they have exhibited, right? So they say renounce your science, and he's like, no. It's like and they ask him to like say God doesn't exist. It says science doesn't. Hasn't been able to answer that question either way, right? So his wife comes up and denounces him, says, thank you to our children for showing us their way. It's really horrific. And anyway, so eventually he's beaten to death, right, by this communist Chinese girl in front of her daughter. So it basically becomes the daughter's story, right, for a lot of that afterwards. So then she's... you see her life, and she is in a labor camp, and eventually she's assigned. They move her to a what's good? They move her to this like massive radio telescope, and they need her scientific ability for some kind of mission, some kind of black ops thing, and they're not really sure. So at the same time, you have all the other characters being introduced. You got what's his name, Wong. I can't remember his name. The big fat Chinese guy, or big fat Asian looking guy who's playing a London cop. Who normally I don't really like. Is he the same guy who plays? Let's look him up. Three body problem. Is he the same guy from what's he called again? Benedict Wong from MCU, right? Benedict Wong. Where is he? Doing. Because he's actually really good in this, right? I'm not a massive fan of his, but he's really good in this. Yeah. So he's shit in the MCU because he's there for his ethnicity. He's really good as a London as a British. Well, you think he's a cop, and then it turns out to be like a special forces spy, and you got this stunning and brave scientist woman who is way too hot. Wait, do I have a picture of her? See if I can find her. She's like the main character for a lot of it. Where is she? I can't believe that she's not on this. Anyway, she's way too hot, and she's like this super wonderful side. Oh, there she is, right in the center. Doink. She's starting to see these numbers before her eyes, and other people have watched these seasons, have seen these numbers before their eyes, and there's been a rash of suicides with like super intelligent scientists. Okay, so then as things progress, there's some kind of VR game that they're introduced to that's running the whole thing, and it's that's where you're introduced to what the three body problem is, right? The three body problem is it's basically trying to solve a math problem, but trying to understand the inner dimensions of it, right? Which who is it? It's this Chinese woman and the bloke from Game of Thrones. They work it out. There's a great cameo from the other League of Gentlemen, Mark Gatiss and Reese Withersmith as they have a way of solving the issue, but they don't really see what the problem. But that's a great little cameo in this like VR world that you spend like the first half of the season. So then, again, this is a mild spoiler. If you don't want to hear it, go away, right? So then it turns out that the woman from the 1960s China made contact with aliens. Essentially, she found the aliens found one of her signals and said, "Don't contact anybody. They will go there and they will destroy you instantly. Keep silent." Now, because she hated the CCP, she worked out that you could, if you transmitted to the sun is like a transmitter, and it makes your message much bigger. So that's what she did. Come and take us. She said, "Come and destroy us." Right. So about halfway through the season, you find out that aliens are on the way, and they're the ones who are controlling everything because they're super powerful, but they're 400 years away, right? So then you have different factions working for different people. We've got Jonathan Pryce, who's very good in it for like 20 minutes. And there's an incredible scene. Oh my God, horrific. And I don't really understand how it worked, of a ambush on a giant vessel. I'm not going to tell you what type of vessel it was. That will be too much of a spoiler. Right, but when it's sliced up by these invisible microfish, it's incredible, right? It is an absolute incredible sequence. I really, really like that, right? I really like that. At the same time, you got other characters. You got other characters who are dying, other scientists who are dying of cancer, and this. Friend of him who's dying, who's also a friend of the guy from Game of Thrones. And it basically works into an end game where there's humanity versus these super intelligent aliens in a few hundred years' time, and different ways of going about attacking that. The trouble is that I found the series finale cut somewhat flat. It didn't leave you with a feeling of optimism or hope or horror. It didn't leave you on a natural cliffhanger. Even though it is a cliffhanger, it just left you going on a bit of a downer, essentially, right? It needed to like give you an uplifting hope for the future that this is worth fighting for. And again, I think that's because it's the approach of having not telling a story, but rather having a soft serve ice cream approach to just splodging out your story, right? So I said, even though this was good, this was I would say solid in a lot of ways. It's just it's worth watching if nothing else is on, right? I certainly went through the whole thing, right? So is it a recommend? Not really. And I wish it was, because I think it deserves to be, but just not really, which is a real shame, right? Which is a real shame, which I wanted it to be better.
My name's Tzvi Lebetkin, the Rabbi from another planet. Please like, share, and subscribe, and ring that little bell. Ring the little bell so you're notified when new videos drop.